Jeremy Fowler points to one of the things that the Bears could focus on in their coaching search. Plus, we're going to look at some of the signings by the Chicago Bears and DeAndre Carter landing on the injury reserve list. We're going to look at all that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Air Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start off with these comments from Jeremy Fowler in regards to Mike Vrabel and some tidbits on what the Bears could be focusing on in their head coaching search, saying this: I can see Vrabel being involved. I think he's going to be one of the stronger candidates because he's proven. Some people around the league believe the Bears will try to lean on experience a little bit because the last hire didn't have that. They want to see someone who can do it and who has gone through the process, not only knows how to lead, but how to manage a game and how to get the best out of a roster. And that does sound like Mike Vrabel, right? And that's something that a lot of Bears fans have also echoed as far as wanting somebody with some experience. Now, I've talked about it before. My personal view is you can get the right guy. The right guy could be a first-time head coach, but the Bears could definitely want to lean on somebody who does have that experience to kind of eliminate some of the things they've already been running into, right? One of the questions, if they were to go with a more defensive-minded guy like Mike Vrabel, is who would he pick as his offensive coordinator? How's that offensive coordinator going to relate with Caleb Williams and get the best out of that? That's been one of the conversation pieces around here with the Bears in their head coaching search, is that do they go offensive minded to kind of, focus that on Caleb Williams in their development, or do they get somebody who has more experience, whether they be offensive minded or not, and then just make sure that they get the right coordinator to help guide that development of Caleb Williams? How much is Caleb going to factor into the decision at head coach? I think hugely, but that doesn't mean that by factoring him in that it means that it has to be an offensive minded head coach. That's just not necessarily what it has to be there. I understand why the thought process is that that's what they should do. And I think ultimately, like, the Bears are going to do, or should do, right? Whoever they feel gets this team closest to winning. That's what this all should be about, is it's time to be winning football games. The focus needs to be on winning football games. That's what the focus has to be, right? And so, I get it that Mike Vrabel does seem more like a typical Chicago Bears hire. He does. Like, it fits the bill typically of what we see this franchise do. But he is a little bit more proven. And I don't know what type of money he's going to command or anything like that. But of course, hearing that the Bears, are not going to be limited by money when it comes down to whoever they want to get as the next head coach, that they're going to be allowed to spend what they feel that they need to spend to make sure that they get the right hires and people in here. That's what all you can ask for. That's what needs to happen, is to make sure that you get the right guys in this building to kind of help this team develop, right? And so, when it comes down to it as well, like, it seems like now, whereas at the beginning, before Matt Eberflus was fired, everybody was focused on Ben Johnson. Now when you start looking at some of the things that are going around and some of the conversations, it seems like maybe the Bears, and this all could be posturing, and it could all be posturing, right? That definitely could be a thing here when it comes down to it. And but when you hear something like Ben Johnson could want up to upwards of $15 million, there's a little bit of question around there, right? But Ian Rappaport even, talking about when it came down to it with Ben Johnson, saying this, you got Ben, who's a little bit different. Look, I think Ben is a really good head coach candidate. Ben Johnson, is he the front runner of a room of a leader type of men? Maybe. Leaders come in different forms. So it seems like maybe there's some question about, is Ben Johnson the guy that could be a leader of men? And, even in Ian Rappaport, him talking about Mike Vrabel, saying this: Vrabel is the front of the room leader of men. Hard-driving, disciplinarian type dude. Aaron Glenn is more of a rah-rah spirited players coach guy. So it seems like there's a bigger belief in Mike Vrabel, and that's starting to become the thing that people are a lot talking about because of hearing anytime you start hearing the same thing from everybody, it kind of just starts being like that's what the front office is looking at things, or maybe what the players are all kind of talking about that they would want. Jalen Johnson saying leader of men. DJ Moore has said leader of men. Everybody's talked about wanting a leader of men in here, right? And so if that ends up being Mike Vrabel, great. If he's gonna get an opportunity, you look at what he did with Tennessee and things like that. So I'm not against Mike Vrabel. I'm not really against any of the coaches. I just want to be clear. I'm not against any of the people that we've heard. I think that, of course, some seem to be better than others. Some seem to be kind of more so what the Bears have done before. But at the end of the day, the Bears just got to go out and get the right guy. And, I get it as fans. We're going to, of course, have the guys that we lean towards and that we want to see get the job. But like I've said many times, for me personally, the Bears could hire somebody that I don't necessarily, that maybe wasn't on my list. But if he ends up being the right guy, that's the most important part. Going out and doing what you don't have to. Let me word this the correct way. You don't have to appease fans with who you hire as far as the speculation going into it. You have to appease fans because who you hire ends up being the guy that wins this team football games. That's the equalizing factor across it all. Yes, we're going to all have our think pieces. We're going to all have our conversations. We're going to all have the places that we think the Bears should lean. But the Bears go out there and they get the guy that ends up being the guy that can get this team into the playoffs, that can win football games with this team over years and develop. Everybody's going to be on board on that. That's really what it all comes down to. Everybody just wants to see their team win. And the Bears have not won at a high level for a long time. So, of course, you're going to have everybody's going to doubt things. And like I said in many episodes before, at this point, they have to show us before they earn our hope again, right? At least in my opinion. And so let's hope that continues to be the case as well, right? But of course, there's questions on like how alluring is the Chicago Bears job going to be? Kevin Warren talked about that this should be one of the most coveted jobs in the NFL, and that he believes that. Ryan Poles, I believe, said that as well. But dysfunction is a thing that people just don't want to deal with anymore. This isn't the old school NFL or sports in general. People don't want to come to a franchise where they feel like, hey, what we're going to have to deal with right away is dysfunction, right? And so the Bears have to, I'm sure they're going to have to convince any candidate that wants to come in here and coach this team that the dysfunction has been cleared out, that there is one goal, one focus, and they got it to the place that this team is all aligned, right? Alignment is important, and you want that. And so, the Bears cleared one of the hurdles that a lot of Bears fans and questions that Bears fans have. Well, as far as in the talk about it, they still got to prove it, right? And so, you still have Bears fans that look at it and say, oh, we missed out on our ball. We missed out on Bill Belichick. We missed out on these guys. And, they look at money being a reason for that. So they hear that money's not going to be issue is a great first step, because now you got to go out and make the right decision. Because now actually that puts even more of a highlight on, do you get it done right? Because if money's not the issue, that means that, hey, you're able to offer what you need to offer to get these guys in the building. So if you make the wrong choice, that puts it even more on you that you didn't get the right guy. And so the Bears and the dysfunction around this franchise has, listen, I know it's been a lot over the last 2 years. You look at ever since the Allen Richardson and all that shit went down, the Lugetti nonsense to lead into this season, like there's been a lot of dysfunction around this team over the last 2 years, but this has been more than that. This Bears franchise has operated in dysfunction for the majority of my 38 years on this planet, right? We've had moments of things being better, but it's just moments of that. We haven't had any type of sustained success. It's just been, moving from one thing to another. This is the time where if the Bears can get this coaching search right, if they can get this right, they can do a lot to not only but to get it right, because if you get the right guy, apparently from a lot of what we heard as well, getting the right guy also means admitting some of your mistakes, admitting some of your flaws, admitting where you went wrong and starting to correct some of that. That's where a lot of this runs. And so, people have lost faith in Ryan Poles. I haven't. Like, don't get me wrong. He's done some things that he's made mistakes. Absolutely. And, what Ryan Poles does in this process, I think is going to be really important. And how he comes out of this, how he goes through this process. He didn't have a whole process from start to finish when he eventually hired Matt Eberflus. He came in and kind of in the middle of that and made the decision, but he came in on the middle of that. This is up to now Ryan Poles to go out there and put his stamp on it. And I know some people, and we talked about it in yesterday's episode where I went off, people were like, yeah, but Kevin Warren, and Kevin Warren's doing his fucking job. As the CEO of a team, that's Kevin Warren's job. That is in his purview. But it's up to Ryan Poles to get this shit done, right? And whoever, make the right decision. And as you clear the dysfunction with this team and start building something that's sustainable, you start building something that shows, hey, we're a franchise that, we made some mistakes, and we're going to make some mistakes in the future. There's not a single franchise in the NFL that has not made a mistake. I don't care what front office you want to compare the Bears to and hope that the Bears can get to. I don't care what team you want to point and compare and say this is where you want the Bears to get as far as execution. Every franchise has made mistakes, but it's about not repeating those same mistakes and eventually learning from them. Ryan Poles has now repeated the same mistake with the offensive line for a few years. It's time to now get it right. We eliminated Matt Eberflus, which it wasn't all the issues, right? It wasn't going to fix everything. Now, go out and fix that. Go out and show that you can get the coach in here that's going to be the coach that needs to lead your guys, right? Do that. So that's where this franchise sits right now, and they sit in an interesting spot. But to get back to the coaching search, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's Vrabel, whether it's Brian Flores, whoever it is, a leader of men is clearly what this team needs. But then that coach needs to go out and fill their staff. And that's something that seems to be a little bit of confidence in Mike Vrabel and what he will be able to do as far as bringing somebody in and hiring the right guys to be in there. So, we'll see, right? Can he hire the right offensive coordinator? You look at the running game that the Tennessee Titans had to where they were always in the playoff hunt, right? And so, Mike Vrabel has done some really successful things. Now, I'm not saying that he's perfect because nobody is, and that goes back to what I'm going to say about all this. Sometimes it's like Bears fans want to talk about things as if if it's not perfect, that means it's not good. And that's just not the case. But you look at Vrabel, only second in the AFC North. First, second, right? He had out of those, he finished third once and fourth once. But other than that, he was either first or second in the AFC North every single time. Over 50%, 54% win percentage. So if he ends up being the guy and he's that leader of men that you need that raw type guy, the guy that can stand in there and set a tone and an expectation. I tell you what, we need that. When you see the performance of players like Tyreek Stevenson and how he's falling off the cliff, we need somebody who's going to set a tone of excellence. When you see how Tremaine Edmonds doesn't always necessarily play up to the way that we need somebody who's going to set that tone of excellence. When you look at the young players and the Austin Booker and Javon Dexter, the Darnell Rice, the people that we have in here that, they've shown some flashes, but we need to see more from, we need to excel. Hey, you need a leader of men to get that shit done. And some people are going to point to saying, but Hayes, despite him finishing in the first and second in the AFC North, look at their playoff record. And you're right there, right? You're right there. 2-3 record in the postseason. They got to figure it out. And so, we'll see what happens there. Listen, I love that the Bears are casting a wide net. I love that the Bears are doing what they need to do to try to put themselves in a position to get the right guy. But now we just got to go. It's been enough of the dog and pony show. The horse and pony, what is it called? Nonetheless, I got the saying wrong, but you know what the hell I mean. It's been enough of that. Let's go out there and figure it out, right? So if Vrabel's that guy, Vrabel's that guy. But let's get back to some football talk. There's so much drama and coach talk. Let's talk about some football, right? The Bears have signed Jonathan Ford off the Packers practice squad. You guys know how everybody feels about ops, but it is what it is there. DeAndre Carter was placed on injury reserve, with his hamstring injury. So, he's not going to come back. So they went out and got defensive tackle Jonathan Ford from the Green Bay Packers. Ford is 25 years old. He was a 7th round pick in the 2022 draft. And so, he made the 53-man roster initially and stayed there all year, but then he was inactive all those weeks. He was on the practice squad in 2023. So this is a guy now with, time that he's coming in. We'll see what the Bears did. They may need some help up front. He's 6'5", 338 pounds. So we'll see what he does in the 4 weeks remaining for the Chicago Bears. The Bears also released the running back Felton, and they signed running back Royce Freeman, who is 6 foot, 238 pounds. In that he was he was drafted in the 3rd round in 2018 by the Broncos. Hasn't really done a whole lot in his NFL career, but especially with needing another big back, with Roshan being out. Royce Freeman now can come in and have maybe an opportunity to see what he can bring to this team. I don't know if he's going to get in actual games or if he's going to end up being inactive, but we'll see what the Bears end up doing there, man. Royce Freeman is a guy that, he's okay, theoretically, right? You look at what he did in Oregon, though. In his 4 years in Oregon, he had over 5,621 yards rushing, and he had 60 touchdowns over that time. He also wasn't bad receiving either. 79 receptions for 814 yards in his collegiate career. But, we're talking about a player who's been far removed from that. He's 28 years old, and he hasn't really done a whole hell of a lot in the NFL. So, don't expect it to, be earth-shattering or anything for us to sign him. Practice squad, body there. He may get some opportunity. With running backs, you just never know. You can get a guy in there. Maybe he can come in and use that big body to block, things like that. But overall, just some roster moves made by the Chicago Bears towards this back end of the season. Nothing really substantial, but, we'll see what happens when it comes down to it overall with that as well. The Bears, we sit in this place now, man. The losing streak, we've had a lot of players talk about the losing streak and how it's affected them, right? We heard it from DJ Moore the other day. We've now heard it from Cole Kmet and him talking about the toll that it's taken on these players. And while it's be easy to say that this team really doesn't have much to play for on the remaining part of the season, pride is a thing. And we look at Cole Kmet, a 6-game losing streak in 2020, a 5-game losing streak in 2021, a 10-game losing streak in 2022, a 4-game losing streak in 2023, and now a 7-game losing streak that very well could go on longer for the Chicago Bears. So I'm sure losing is taking a toll. But like I said with the DJ Moore thing yesterday, it's all about now how you internalize that and use that to play better. That's what this is all about. And the Bears got to get their shit together, man. This Bears team sits in a place like, I know we play on Monday night. I thought coming into this Monday night game, I would be a lot more excited about the Bears' outlook when this was initially put on the schedule. But now a lot of people just sit in a place where they're kind of just ready to get this season over with, right? We had voicemails from, people saying that the Bears, should not necessarily look to tank, but, not necessarily win over the remainder of the season. That really sucks. As a guy who covers the Chicago Bears, as part of my living, it sucks that to see the place that the Bears are in yet again, right? The same place that Bears fans continue to be. And I tell you what, I'm tired of seeing this. I'm tired of feeling this. So I know the players got to, and I know you guys at home got to as well, right? And losing breeds discourse. Losing breeds disheartening, right? And so, when you see a lot of the Bears fans that complain and things like that, like it all comes down to people are just tired. People are really just tired of this Bears thing and the same story all the time for the Chicago Bears and how we just continually do and go through the same thing day over day, year over year, and every time our excitement gets slashed every single time. And so let's hope that the Bears can start looking to change that. Let's hope some things can go in a better direction for this team. But, when you look at what the Bears have left to play for remaining in this season, what do the Bears really have left to fight for the remainder of the season? Like, it's pride, right? It has to be a little bit of that pride aspect of it. You have to go out there and play with pride, like, and show your fans something. Show your fans something. Like, leave us with something to look at and say, all right, if we could just build off these things, which, I mean, we already realistically should have that if people are being level-headed and looking at things in totality. Like, the Bears have a lot of draft picks. They have an opportunity now to go out and get the right coach. They got some cap flexibility to do some things. They got something, but all the potential in the world to change your turn your stuff around doesn't really mean anything if you don't actually do it. So, we got 2 home games left this season against Detroit and Seattle. We finished our season against Green Bay. We have this Monday night game coming up against Minnesota. Hopefully the Bears are able to show us something, man. That's really just what it comes down to. To see the continued growth of Caleb Williams, all those type of things, like, that's great. That's fine and dandy. But, this season, it's hard not to look at this season and be really disappointed about where the season went and where it failed to go in a lot of ways for the Bears too. So, all eyes on the Bears this season, this offseason, to really see how much of this will they fix? Not can they? How much of it will they fix? How much different will this offseason feel? How much more intentional will Ryan Poles be about his moves and personnel, both on the field and off the field? Those are the things that to look at for the rest of the season for the Chicago Bears. And let's hope that we can get it done. Let's hope that we can get something positive done and come out of this looking a little bit better. That's really just what it comes down to, right? Because you want to make that step in the right direction. Make a step. The thing that really sucks so much about this season is feeling like we took steps back from where we were last season. And maybe last season was a mirage when those 7 wins. Maybe that was the case. There's a case to be made for that. But I think overall, like, when you really look at everything and just the fact that this team took a step back, right? We took a huge step back. And, it makes you reframe everything. Like the fact that Matt Eberflus was retained this offseason. A lot of Bears fans are going to look at that and say, why? Why did we put ourselves through this again where the writing was on the wall? We saw that he couldn't manage late game situations. We saw that he didn't have the situational awareness. We saw all these things. And we hope that some of those things were going to change. We're bringing in Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator. That was also a fail. So we failed at a lot of the things that brought some hope for the Chicago Bears. One thing that we didn't do, though, is fell on Caleb Williams. I think Caleb is still the right pick at quarterback. He has to continue to grow and develop, but I still think he was the right pick there. We just got to we got some things that we need to work on. We need to get to work this offseason. Let's hope through that work, the Bears get in the place that we need to get them to. But thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. That's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.